Welcome to Pods with Posh and Pool. Joe and I are delighted today to welcome on board Anthony Sanderson, who has come to join us as owner of Corelli's restaurant and cafe in Devonport in Auckland in New Zealand. Welcome on board, Anthony.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Appreciate it.
Well, Anthony, we find ourselves in a very odd current climate. None of us would have ever thought at Christmas time that we would find ourselves in lockdown. However, in lockdown is where we find ourselves. So, how has it affected you immediately and your customers?
We're not open. It's affected straight away. We're not there. People can't go to their normal customers, the regulars. It's habitual. They read the paper, they meet people, they start their day, they have meetings, business meetings, private, social, all sorts of things like that. And now it's not there for them. Yeah. There are some people that spend, crikey, there's a few who spend 3 or 4 hours a day at Corelli's every day, and it's not there. So we've all lost something in this somewhere along the line in our regular habits. So I guess that's the most immediate thing. And staff have lost their jobs for now, and obviously they're fearful of that. Everybody's frightened and wondering what's next, because really we don't know.
And for those of you who are listening that don't know Corelli's is the heart of our community in Devonport. Devonport is a community, everybody knows everybody, it's very small, self-contained and cut off. We're on a peninsula with a ferry coming in and one road in and out. Corelli's is part of that heart. There's many businesses that are suffering right now. And as you say, Anthony, you are a meeting point for so many people, business people, mums with first-time babies getting together with friends, people that are connecting day to day, people out for a run and going for coffee. And I think it's come as such a shock for everybody that these routines we have in daily life, we've maybe taken for granted, but we love Corelli's. It is just such a vibrant place to go. You can sit inside or outside, and obviously in Auckland we have the weather, we can sit up all year round. The food is amazing. The reception is is greatness. And we are, first of all, sorry that you have had to shut down at this time. And for your staff in particular that are without jobs, as you say, it's a concern. And for listeners on here in hospitality trade, many of you will be in exactly the same situation. Joe, you've had experience in hospitality trade, haven't you?
I mean, the hospitality trade is hard enough at the best of time when businesses thrive and when businesses boom. And so to hit this kind of wall is going to affect many, many greatly. And as you say, it's not just the as you as a business owner, Anthony, I can see you seeing it from that other perspective where you've taken that social hub away from the customers. It's taken the social hub away from the customers, and that's a big part of their connection and their daily lifestyle. That's probably what keeps a lot of your customers going, just coming into your business. So yeah, it's just a difficult situation all around, isn't it? And I hope those people who usually come to Corelli's, I hope they have got some social connection somewhere to keep them going.
Well, we know a lot of the customers pretty well, and we can see them out walking now. And when I think Sunday, Monday, people began to realise that probably this was going to be a reality. So the feedback started. We were speaking to people, and anyone in retail knows one of the great problems of retail is getting someone in your door and hanging on to them. And now they can't go through that door. Are they going to go somewhere else? But they actually can't go somewhere else. And I think, hopefully, when we reopen, people will breathe a sigh of relief that, and now we're going to come back. And so that will probably be emotional. It was emotional when we shut, and it's still emotional now. But thank you for those kind words you said. That's I should say I didn't pay for that. That was wonderful what you said, Joe, and to know that, because we don't really know that, and we don't think, oh, we are this or we are that. We're just doing the best we can, and that's my staff. I felt most sorry for my staff on the day, because it's their social life too. Many of those people they've been there for many, many, many years. People like Mo, if you knew Mo, Mo had worked for me for 12 years. Min and Amy in the kitchen and baking and that, they've worked for me for 12 years as well. Andrew's been there for, a lot of these people have been there for a long time, and this is their family. This is their family away from home, and it broke that. And that would be happening all over New Zealand too, and the world, indeed. We're not alone in all those sorts of things. So they're upset. They're losing their friendship every day when they come and do all that, let alone being frightened for their job and their money and what was available and then again, what's going to happen. So, yeah.
I think you've actually hit the nail on the head, Anthony, and raised a really interesting topic, because in theory, we're all at home in lockdown with our families or our bubbles. But actually, as you say, we all have these extended families, and maybe it's taken this for us to all realise that we take for granted family in Corelli's, family in Devonport, family at work. We create a wider network, and actually all we need is community. We're born for connection. We're not born for possessions and power and titles and to compete with each other. We are born for connection. If there's one thing I would love to come out of this, is a sense of greater appreciation. And certainly when we come back, imagine the connections that will be made when we have taken for granted those friendships. And even people that we say to daily, you mean so much to me. Did we really value truly what those people meant? Did we really honour the people in the cafes and restaurants when the food wasn't warm enough or the coffee wasn't right? Did we just whinge and complain because it wasn't the coffee we wanted? Or did we just drink the coffee that was slightly not hot enough and just be grateful for the waitress that's come in there that day because she's got her own problems at home? You've got your own worries financially, keeping a business running. Were we living in gratitude? Did we live in appreciation?
People ask me sometimes, how do I get good service? Why don't I get good service in a cafe? And to some people I say, well, because you're an arsehole. This person has a job. You've got to respect what they're doing, whether it's a young girl or boy going to uni or a person and this is their main job. This is what they do for a living. What do you do for a living? You demand respect. You want respect. Respect these people. Treat them with respect. Get a connection. Communicate with them. They want to come to your table. They want to like you. They want to be appreciated. Give appreciation to people and you'll get great service. If the food's not so great, well, get real. You know, there's people all over the world don't get food every day. They struggle to eat, you know, a piece of dirt. So get real. And if the coffee's not great, everyone's not perfect. It's not perfect for everybody. I think we've become this is philosophy now, but we've just become all way too entitled, and we need to stop that, and this will show it. The one thing we get out of this now is time. We can stop. You know, I can now do this in my house. I can do this in my garden, and I won't say how old I am, but I do get the pension. And I go back to my grandparents, and so now I'm back in the 50s, and we did the garden. And they cooked at home all afternoon, and we did all these things, and it was done slowly. And that's how the time went, and we appreciated it all. So I'm actually quite happy right now. I quite like this. I do live on my own. It's happened that way that I thought I'll take this period on my own instead of having a friend come with me. Because when you're locked down and you can't move away, or it becomes you want to do something else, you actually can't go and do it. So you can't have your own life. So let's do our own lives, and I quite enjoy it. So the other thing is people are using Zoom. I was already attuned to it. People that go to the pub, I know they have drinks on Zoom every night now, and they have their discussions sitting at their tables and desks on their phones or their laptops, and they drink whatever they drink. And I think there's one with 7 or 8 people already going that I know of. Seems very new. So I think that's all happening. People are out walking. Where I live, I can see them all day, every day. The other morning I went up at 6:30 to the cafe because I have to check the refrigeration, make sure it hasn't been burgled and all that sort of stuff. And there were just people running and walking and pushing their babies and running their dogs. And I was watering the garden last night about 8 o'clock, and everyone stops and, you know, they stand over there, they stand a fair way away, but everyone's having a chat. People that you've never spoken to before. And now you go up, when you walk past people now and they say, "G'day, hello." I'm Australian. We say hello. "You all right?" "Yep." It's great, isn't it? I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. And I think everything you've just said, I think hopefully, you know, when we come back from this, people will start to see people more. And I think people are already seeing people more when, as you say, we're not just walking past people in the street. We are more aware because we are within ourselves a little bit more. We're saying hello, we're passing pleasantries, we're actually caring about other people because we know that we're struggling too, that this isn't easy for us. And then hopefully when we do come back and you open your business and it starts thriving again, maybe those people who would have complained in the past, maybe they will now start to see the humans that work there and really appreciate them. And let's just get back to basics and appreciate each other. I think this is time to reset.
Let's hope so. I'll just say a point on that is, I think, and I shouldn't say this, but if we come back too soon, which we really need to economically, the lesson might get learned. The pain hasn't really hit yet. The media will make it a fun thing, and they'll think it's all we could have done. And the longer it goes on, when the pain really sinks in, and you start thinking, oh, I really wish I had this back again. That's when you begin to appreciate things. When they're not there and you can't quite touch them, that's when you really think about, well, what should I be doing to get that?
Yeah. And Joe and I did a recording this morning, Anthony, about peace and suffering, and we were basically saying it gets to the stage where the honeymoon period of lockdown is over. At first it might seem lovely to have a chance to be with our families, get out in the garden, tidy the wardrobe and do the things that we never get to do, build those relationships. Then it gets to conflict, and there's lots of people living in one household with very different needs. How do we manage those needs? The honeymoon period is over, and then it gets to the fact that we want to go back to our normal lives. But as you say, what lessons can we learn along the way? And I was just wondering, I mean, if we go rewind time back to Christmas, you must have been at Christmas not even contemplating in a million years that suddenly in March you were going to have to shut down almost overnight. What did it look like to you? How did you find out you were going to close? And what were your immediate thoughts when you realised that was going to happen?
Well, like many people know, we've got friends all over the world, and a good mate of mine lives on the Gold Coast, but he lived in China for 10 years up until last year, and he came back to Australia because with his Chinese wife, and because he was concerned about what was happening in China. He didn't like the way it was going when Xi became a dictator. And we spoke on Christmas Day, and he alerted me then to what was happening in my home. He said, do you know about this? I said, well, not really, no. I think I read some small article somewhere. He said, well, this is actually pretty bad. And we talked again over New Year. And so I actually began then, I've been in business for a long time. I thought, well, I better make preparations if China shuts down, and he was talking about that then. He was talking about it, there was big problems. Wuhan was already being locked down and the process had started. Anyway, long story short, I started preparing for a recession, for a problem with the economic activity might not be so great. People will become a little bit more tighter with their money. So I put money in the bank and I started just getting ready for that. I can't even begin to claim that I knew this was going to happen because this is unprecedented in our life. So when Jacinda went to a level system and straight to 2, I had a look at what 3 meant. And 3 meant to me, shut down for us. If you remember, she was telling people to stay away. So we had 2 weeks out, we had a bit of a fall. 1 week out, more of a fall. And then on the Monday that it happened, business collapsed. Not on Sunday. I was very surprised at the trade we did over the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, leading to Monday. But I'd already cut the roster. I'd already cut the ordering. I told the staff, you do this, you do that. I'd informed all of the schoolgirls and schoolboys and students, the part-timers who had lived at home with their mother and father and didn't need money for their rent and food. So I said, well, you may not get new work for a while. This is what's probably going to happen. It looks to me like we're heading to a winter trade or less right now. And that's what I was preparing for, to drop off as if we were in mid-July. But then I was listening to the radio on the Monday morning to Mike Hoskins, and what he was talking about and what they were talking about and what Jacinda was talking about. And I just said to myself, we're going to lock down today or tomorrow or Wednesday. We're certainly going this week. So I went in and I spoke to the staff immediately. This is what's happening. I stopped 2 staff coming in. I told the kitchen to stop preparing food for the future because I don't think we have a future right now. And we can't, I said, cancel all the orders. Just do it. Just do everything. And then with the bookkeeper, we did the wage subsidy application.
Yeah.
We lodged that about 11:30, and so that was lodged. And I thought, well, what else can I do? And I've done everything I thought I could do. So,
and that was really quick, wasn't it, Anthony? The wage subsidy coming through. What I hear from feedback is that people were paid quite quickly, and that was really efficient. If you think back to the earthquake in Christchurch in 2011, it took a long time for people to access their homes and have payouts and money, but actually that was really efficient, wasn't it, on behalf of the government?
The announcing of it and putting it all together. Politically, I was never a big fan of Jacinda, but I can see what people say about it. But now I'll just go, hang on. We knew the people behind it, Gleichman and all those people. We know all those names. And that guy that gives the report every day on the TV, he just reeks of authority and knowledge and surety about what he's saying. And she put all the right people, she took all her advice, and she made a good decision. And then with the money, you're right, you're absolutely right. We lodged it probably 11:45 on Monday morning, and I heard it come in. I heard my phone beep at 4 a.m. on Thursday morning, and there it was. What that did, besides the ripple effect of that, is that just made me go, well, okay, I don't have to pay. I don't have to find the money to look after my staff, so I'm safe. Now they're safe. And I went in and I made sure every staff member knew that we had all their money and that the government had acted swiftly, and they should be pretty happy about all of that. And then I told them, also, you should all know I have all of your holiday pay in the bank account, and it's there. You can request it on demand, and I recommend you don't, because we don't know where we're going after the subsidy. So we did our first subsidy payment yesterday. It's a nightmare. We're nearly 30 people, and they're full-time and part-time, and it's this and it's that. And but at the end of the day, that just took all the pressure out of everything that was happening.
It's so nice to hear, because I work next door to Corelli's. I just do the accounts next door in the cinema with Philip. And the first thing he thought of as well, the same as you, is what about the staff? And that's like, you know, we didn't all just go into selfish mode. We were actually all thinking about other people, and whether it was employers thinking about their employees, or whether it was neighbours thinking about their elderly neighbours. People actually went into more of a caring attitude, which was really heartwarming. I found it was really nice thing to see and hear.
And that's really who we are. That's really who we are. We just get taken away by this life of money and things, and we forget about actually who we really are. Which is what you were saying before. Yeah. So they're all happy. They got paid yesterday. Some of them have come back to me, others haven't, but they all know. And, you know, on the day we locked up, when we were finished, people were crying, there were tears, there were huggings, there were what's going to happen. But they knew that they still had their job in 12 weeks' time before we reopened. We can't guarantee all that, but they know they're going to get paid, and they've got surety. So, government did a great thing. They've done a great thing. I think they've done the right thing. I agree with the whole lot, and no problem at all. And this is not over by a long stretch. My opinion, for what it's worth, is until we have a vaccine of 100% surety, we're not out of this. It's not over, because that's it. So the borders will stay locked. I think we'll reopen in the sooner than the later. And by that, I think it might be 5 or 6 or 7 weeks. I don't think it's going to be 3 or 4, but that's just pessimism. Personally, I said to someone this morning on the phone, I'd be quite happy if she locked the border even tighter. Just don't come. Do not come to New Zealand. Don't come here. Don't come here and ask us to pay for you to go into a hotel room, because you know what's going on. You know what's happening. Why are you coming here now?
And I think that's
a
concern, isn't it, in lots of countries around the world. Singapore shut their borders. England haven't necessarily shut their borders. The concern for people living there is the virus still coming in from other countries. Yet, Anthony, in the midst of it, your message is such one of hope. It's one of reconciliation. It's one of love. As Joe says, you're thinking about your customers. You're thinking about your employees. What, if you were to leave one final message for all of us sitting at home and thinking, gosh, give me a coffee any day in a cafe, give me Corelli's back, what message would you like to put there to the listeners who are stuck at home with young children, frustrated, arguments going on, can't get to work? What would you like to say?
Enjoy the peace. Enjoy the peace and the time. You might not have it at home with your children, but enjoy the time. Just enjoy the time. Make good use of it. Read a book. Improve your computer. Do something. Don't say I'm bored. In this whole world of the things you can do, don't say I'm bored. That just means you're not thinking. I don't mean to be negative about that, but do something. Before we go, I got a coffee delivery on Sunday because we weren't 100% sure. I got 25 kilos of coffee and beans. If people want to, I'll leave it for a few days. If people want to email me if they would like to buy a 1 kilo bag of these beans for $20 cash, if they email me, I won't tell people where I live on here. If people want to email me the details, I'll email them back and I'll tell them where I live, and then I'll tell everybody at once. There's a 2-hour time period. One day I'll leave them on my front steps with a koha jar. Come along, put $20 in the jar and take away a kilo of beans. Is that all right to do that?
Fantastic.
And we of course stay within government guidelines. No one's allowed near each other, and maybe all at separate times. So maybe if you're on your walk and you're not going to go out as an extra journey, go on a walk for your exercise and go and collect some on the way. So we're not breaking any government guidelines there. But
and what I'll do with the money is I'll donate it to a staff party and I'll give it to the staff. So
yeah, I love that. That's so fantastic.
Staff who are amazing. Great bunch of staff you've got there.
Yeah, they are. They're fantastic. And I should say that too. They are fantastic. They're good people. They turn up every day. We look after them. They look after us. People should know too. Staff that have been there for a long time and the good staff, they get a 2% bonus every day they work. They get a 2% bonus on their shift, and they share it amongst themselves. Pretty well gives them another day's pay on top. So I don't just take all the money. It all goes back towards the staff. And we try to provide good quality food at a lower price, the best I can do in the market environment and the wholesale. It says, well, you can come and have a meal here a bit more often and you can enjoy the whole environment. And I think it's pretty good quality as well.
Yeah,
so
it is.
That's what we're about.
Oh, thank you very much for your time today. We honour you and all your staff. We cannot wait for the business to open again. I'm so glad the government subsidy came through so you can pay all your staff and that they can pay their bills, etc. And they can wait for Corelli's to open again, as we all will. And we can't wait for Devonport High Street to look vibrant once more. But in the meantime...
And also, we just love your wisdom, so much to share, and I think your heart is so apparent that it actually explains why Corelli is such a lovely place to go and get a coffee. So we can't wait to come back when it reopens. Let's hope it's not even 6 to 8 weeks. We can't come back and again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Bye.
Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
Bye, Anthony.